Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to kickinthecreative.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's episode, and today we're going to talk about titling your artwork. Does it really matter? But before we get onto that, thank you very much to everyone who's been sharing their work with us on social media. There's just so many coming in all the time, and we absolutely love seeing what you're doing. A big thank you as well to our latest Ko-fi supporters. Your support helps us massively with the costs, and it also shows us that you like what we do and you'd like us to continue.
Yeah, and finally, we want to thank our sponsor, Evolve. Now, Evolve can teach you to paint in a realism style to a professional level in a year or less, and for a complete fraction of the price of art school. Not only do they provide you all the lessons and the support online, but you also get all the materials you need. Now, if you want to learn more about it, you can watch a free webinar. Now, this is learning material. This is not just selling. And you can go to watch that by going to kickinthecreatives.com/evolve webinar. And if you want to hear more about it as well, you can also listen to our episodes 67 and 73.
I went back to watch that webinar again a little while ago.
Oh, did you?
And I'd forgotten. It's pretty much like a painting lesson, isn't it? It's almost like a free painting lesson. It's incredible, actually. The amount I gained from just that one webinar, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah. We've also got a review, which is lovely. We love reviews, so keep them coming in. And it says, entertaining and informative, 5 stars. This is one of my go-to podcasts. Each episode delivers something different, including gems of inspiration to maintain your creative habit. Their most recent episode was about creative block, which is something that has plagued me recently. The discussion was honest and real and really hit the spot. They also run a brilliant Facebook group which is full of different creatives using every medium imaginable. Another source of inspiration that you shouldn't miss. And that's from Jay, and she is aka Roving Jay. So thank you very much, Roving Jay.
Yeah, I absolutely love that review. And it meant a lot, actually, because obviously when I was going through that art block at the deepest part of it, I was worried about recording a podcast, and I was worried about recording that podcast because I thought, oh God, I don't want to bring anyone down, and we like to be jolly, don't we, Tara? I was a little bit worried about how it I was a little bit worried that whether people would be okay with that, but I think it went down really well. I think everybody really related, well, not everyone, but I think most people seem to really relate to that one. So I'm really glad it helped you, Jay. I hope you're over the worst of it now. And of all the people that I never thought would go through an art block, it would be Roving Jay, because she's so prolific, isn't she? With her sketching.
That's what I was going to say too. Yeah, Roving Jay does loads of urban sketching, and we see so many drawings from her that for her to have a creative block is like, oh, it does happen to everybody.
Yeah, I think, she's done Kick 365 as well. That's a hell of a challenge. And I think sometimes you can create so much that perhaps it can actually drive you into a bit of a wall if you don't. I mean, I could only do that Kick 365 if it was a sketching, like a sketching challenge.
You did it once, didn't you?
I did it with Felicity Fizz with the little easy peasy, cartoony things. But it's like anything. I remember you saying, Tara, when you did your what was it, post-it,
the 50 days, or
that's it, the 50, no, sorry, not that one, 100-day project, wasn't it, you did a long time ago?
Yes,
and
I've
you
done
said
that a couple of times.
And you said you hit a bit of a wall then because
about day 10. Seriously, it was about day 10.
What about when you did your 50 faces challenge, or 50 ways to draw a face? Or was it 50 the ways art experiment one? Actually, I think it was
both of them. Both.
Yeah.
And I think anyway, you're consistently, you've like promised yourself you're going to do a drawing a day. I think any of those, you get to a certain point, you think, oh, why did I do this? But it's almost like, I think the athlete thing, when they hit that wall,
Yeah.
I think then if you get past that, you're okay. I mean, you are glad it's over when it's finished, but yeah, it's a hard one.
It is. But you'll come out of it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, shall I ask you what is new with you?
What is new with me? I am feeling inspired. I haven't got a new painting on the go yet, but I've definitely got a subject in mind. I've been photographing like subjects to do, but it's finding that one, you know? I've always said, haven't I? Sometimes the hardest part of doing a painting is getting the right getting the right composition, the right...
Yes, getting it to look exactly like you want. Like I can spend hours looking for a face that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when I do something, sometimes I've got to go out and actually buy something and look for something and whatever. So, but anyway, so yes, what I can say is what is new with me is I am certain that I am going to be painting and have one on the go, hopefully within the next week or so, I'd like to think.
Yeah.
So that'd be good. But meanwhile, it has been my birthday, and
do you know I forgot to say happy birthday to you? How bad am I? I'm really sorry.
It's all right. I didn't even notice. I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, I had a birthday, and Paul wanted to take me away and have a weekend in London. What was really good about it is obviously we did lots of different things. We went to see a show and we went out for dinner and things like that. But what was really good was that Paul was, first of all, dragging me, like, come on, we're going to go into this art gallery. And at the time I was like, no, I can't look at art at the moment. Anyone who didn't listen to episode 133, you probably won't know what I'm on about, and you'll think, why is she doing an art podcast? Go back and have a listen to where I was at the time. But yeah, I was still not really feeling going into galleries at the time, but I went into some galleries with Paul, and oh my gosh, as soon as I walked into one, I was like, yes, this is great. I love being in art galleries. So I really enjoyed that feeling of just looking at this art, which was really good sign, and it really pepped me up, really. I thought, oh, you know, I haven't just lost interest. It's just this...
Were these contemporary art galleries?
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't like the national, you know, with...
Oh, God, no, I didn't go to any of those, no. Actually, I don't necessarily find any of those particularly inspiring because it's not the sort of thing I do. But no, just little backstreet galleries, which are fantastic. And then there's one quite real swanky one, and it had Christian Hook in there, which I really like. But it also had all sorts of other big names, the Connor brothers, and Damien Hirst as well. But it was quite funny because all those different names, you can imagine the different styles they had. You know, you've got Christian Hook, who's, you know what his style's like. It's it's brilliant. And then you've got the Connor brothers, which is very much like words and almost like pop art. It probably isn't. It's not pop art, but do you know what I mean? It's quite
that look.
Yeah,
very, very contemporary.
And then you had this Damien Hirst one. We've talked about this, haven't we? And I did make a video on it, and I'd said it's not
what
always
is the Damien Hirst one.
Well, it's called. Oh, it brings us... Well, I want to ask what's new with you first, but I'll tell you what the title of this painting was, and it was called Nice Tats.
No.
And if you can imagine, I'm walking around this gallery, there's this fantastic art everywhere, absolutely amazing art. Some of it not necessarily to my particular taste, but still, nevertheless, you know, great art. Gives you something to think about, art, that kind of stuff. And very, very vast differences between one price and another, all extremely expensive, as you can imagine. Yeah. But, of course, I'm looking around and you've got these paintings that have taken probably weeks and weeks to do, or some of them probably days and days. And then you've got this other one, which was I can only describe it, it's a naked woman. It's only a torso. And it's just done in like probably HB pencil that you'd pick up off of a school kid's desk sort of thing, right? Yeah. And it's just like an outline of this woman's body with big boobs, one poking one way, one poking the other way, big nipples, and it looked like the head had been cut off. But it was just a very, very, very simple drawing, which I could have done and you could have done, and anyone. In fact, it probably took him 5 minutes. Now, I know we talk about this, don't we, where we're like, oh, yeah, you can't always say it takes that could be done in 5 minutes. No, this really, really would have been done in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, this very simple outline drawing, was put in this elaborate frame, and the price tag was something like, I think it was £17,500.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
And it's the signature. You're not paying for that piece of art. What you're paying for is the signature on that piece of art.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about art, isn't it? But what was exciting about it is because I was in there and I was like, oh my God. And Paul was like, can you believe the price of this? And I'm like, it got my heart going again a bit, because I was thinking, oh my God, this is what fascinates me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It made me feel a bit more
Wired
like my
up
old...
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but
no,
just amazing.
That is frustrating, isn't it? It's frustrating that someone can do something. They originally do something, for shock tactic or something, and it hits the headlines.
Yeah.
And then after that, basically, they could wipe their bum on a piece of paper and it'd be worth a fortune.
Yeah. And I remember going to, I think it was the Royal Academy, actually, with my daughter. She took me for Mother's Day once. And there was a painting there, and it was called My Dead Mother, I think it was. And this artist had painted her dead mother. And I just thought, I thought that was very... And to have that in a gallery and to be, I presume, making money out of that. And that was a shock tactic for sure. Absolutely. Because it wasn't a pleasant painting to look at. It was very horrible, saddening sort of sight. And I don't know if that's how I'd want to get known. Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, but then that person will be a very rich and famous, well-known artist, I'm sure, because they do that. But... I'm just not willing to do that myself. But anyway, going back to that, nice tats he called it, which I thought was quite amusing, but very big price tag and very big tats as well, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, were you testing me though? Said I'm at the easel.
What do you mean?
One day you texted me.
Oh, yes, I did, yes. So that was when, I'd said I'd taken that painting down off of the website because I wasn't happy with it. It was the last one I did. So I turned it around and I decided I would just, do you know what, I'm going to work on it a little bit more, and I did. And it's definitely, in that session, in fact, I did another session after that, I definitely feel like it turned a corner. I haven't done any more to it than that, and that's not because I haven't wanted to, it's literally because... That birthday weekend that I did the weekend before my birthday was 3 days. And then last weekend was my birthday. So I had people coming over and we were out and doing things. So I haven't had a lot of time to actually do any more to it. But the good thing was I did text you and I said, oh my God, Tara, I'm actually at the easel with a brush in my hand. And you were like, oh my God. So yeah, I have been back at the easel. I just can't wait to start something new though, because working on something old is a bit... I don't know. I don't like it as much. I think if I don't get it how I want it in the next couple of sessions, I probably will just destroy it. We'll see.
Yeah. Paint over the top of it. Do what I've done, where you turn it upside down and paint something new.
I couldn't really do that because the way it's layered and the way that the medium you have to. I'd have to do. No, I don't think that would work.
Could you paint something for fun on top of it?
I could do that. I probably won't.
Oh. Why not?
I don't know.
You wanted to paint one of those paintings where you do blind contour. Could you do that just for fun in oils?
Maybe.
Yeah, you won't. I know.
Well, I don't know. As you're saying it, I'm thinking.
Oh, I know what else I've got to ask you before we go on.
Yes, I did.
Yay! I gave you a challenge, didn't I, last time? And that was I can't remember, it's email somewhere, and I can't remember where it was.
The winery.
That's it, the winery.
Yes, I did.
You emailed them.
And they emailed me back and said, oh, I'm so sorry, but the person you need to speak to about this is currently away on holiday until the 1st of June.
Oh, right, okay. If anyone who didn't know, it was to you were going to have an exhibition, weren't you, at the winery? They asked you ages ago, and you hadn't really followed it up.
Yeah, they did, because at the time I didn't have enough sort of paintings of that subject to really make it to fill the walls, if you like. And I know I have now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tara said you need to follow it up. So I actually did, which yeah. You, what's going on with you?
So I had some paintings in a summer exhibition there's a gallery in not the town nearest me, the next town, and it was just like an open exhibition, so anybody could put work in. So we went over to the opening night, which was on Friday evening. We just popped over, but to be honest, it was like we didn't really know who was hosting, because it didn't seem to be. I'm sure there was, because we did briefly meet the people. But when you kind of, they got wine and stuff, but there was no one giving you wine. And do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So either they were busy with somebody, or I don't know, or somebody just wasn't kind of handling it, if you know what I mean.
Can I ask you, did you have to pay to be in the exhibition?
No.
You didn't? Oh, that's good.
Oh, well, hang on. You had to pay. It's a non-profit, this company. And you had to pay like a small entry fee. You know how you pay entry fees for sort of competitions?
Yeah.
But it was something like £10 or £15.
Right.
And basically, I think that's just to cover buying the wine.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So did anyone sell anything?
Yeah, it's just this. Well, I don't know. Not that I know of. We only stayed about 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
Because it was quite small, the actual gallery, so it doesn't take long to go around. We didn't really know anybody. Do you know, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Don't know anybody.
How many paintings did you put in there?
I put 3 in. So one was in the window, which was nice.
Oh, great.
And then the other 2 were sort of further in. But there was a real mix. So there was anything from some who are very, very amateur to some who were, obviously sold work, I would say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how long do you get to keep them in there? Are they still there now?
Yeah, they're still there now. And I think they're in there for another couple of weeks or something.
Oh, that's good.
I think so. I thought, well, it can't hurt, can it? It's not expensive to put it in. They show a variety of work, and it's in there for a few weeks, and it's in the town centre, this little gallery. So, there's no harm.
Well, the more you can get something out there, the better. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not going to sell when it's stuck under your bed, is it?
No, and also it's like that's something you can put on your website, was exhibited in the summer, summer exhibition or whatever. So, yeah, I did that. And then I've also been painting a lot more again. I'm totally addicted. I keep saying this, to those Posca mop markers. Absolutely love them. They really give you the drips and stuff.
Oh, okay. And this is basically like a pen full of paint, isn't it? That you squeeze. Am I right?
It's like a marker, but it has more. You know, a roll-on deodorant.
Yeah.
But the roll-on bit is sponge.
Yeah.
You can imagine, yeah. So that's what it's like. So when you press down, you can either get it to go really smooth, or you can sort of press it a bit more, and then it'll like go drippy. It's kind of a graffiti type tool, really. Graffiti artists would use that sort of thing. And then I've been playing with canvas. Look, I used to hate canvas.
Yeah.
So I've been playing with canvas and canvas board. And actually, yesterday I did something totally different. I don't know if you probably didn't see it on Instagram. But I had this real urge at the weekend to paint a city street scene.
Really? That's not
I
like
know.
you. I mean, it's like me saying I want to paint a building or a landscape.
I know. Well, it's funny because we have this picture on our wall. I probably said before. It's we've got a limited edition print, but it's like a canvas.
Right.
And it's of a New York street scene, but it's really loose and kind of got sort of dripped paint and stuff like that. We both really love it. And for some reason I thought, do you know what? I really fancy painting probably a night scene. But so I did that yesterday. And I keep looking at it and think, I don't know if I like it or I don't know if I like it or not.
I'm going to have to go on Instagram and have a look at that. Yeah, because oh, that's amazing. So maybe you're going to start looking at other subjects.
No.
You don't? No?
No, probably not. It was probably, who knows? Although I did actually think I kind of like elements of it, and maybe there's a way of kind of combining it somehow, or just putting some of the look of this into my faces. But yeah. So, sometimes you need to challenge yourself. You have this idea in your head and you have to do it just to see if you can do it.
Yeah.
It was one
But
of those.
maybe sometimes you can't do it the first time, but you can the second. Do you know what I mean?
No, because I probably wouldn't do it a second. But it was just like,
it was
in my head, I have to try it. Yeah. Go on, sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I've always wondered whether you would do well with a spray can.
I would love that.
I bet you'd make an amazing graffiti artist. You should try it on canvas. Do some graffiti style on canvas. See what happens. Get some spray paints.
Yeah, but the problem is it's so toxic.
That is the problem. You'd have to do it outside with a mask on. That is the problem,
and I've got nowhere outside really because we've got fake grass, so I don't want it on there. And then there's not much because obviously it's permanent. If it's your normal grass, it'll grow out, won't it? But then we've got we haven't really got. There's no space to do it. I'd need a studio and I'd need a mask. So I've seen. There's a guy I love, and I can't remember his name now, but I watch him on Instagram and he's doing spray paint, and they're absolutely amazing. And I would love to have a go, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see people working with acrylics and they use like an air. Is it an air gun or something?
Airbrush.
Airbrush, that's right. And you can get the subtlety that you can get with an airbrush looks divine. It really does. I'm like, oh God, imagine the shadows you can create with that, and the gradation you can get from one of those. But I don't like the idea, even in a studio environment, with a mask on, because ultimately it's still flying around the air, and you know when you take your mask off, isn't it, for quite some time. So I just don't think some people, some weird people, I bet you're one of these people who likes the smell of Sharpie pens and petrol and all that sort of stuff. There are some people that enjoy that smell.
Yeah.
No, there are some people that aren't they, and I hate it. It just instantly gives me a headache. So I think anything like that wouldn't be good for me to use. It really wouldn't.
I think if you're going to do something like that, you really need, you've got a studio, but you've got like a nice house studio, is what I would call it, from what I've seen. Whereas you really need one of those studios that's more or less like a concrete floor, and just white brick walls. That's the sort of studio you need for doing stuff like that, isn't it? Yeah, an extractor, some sort of extractor as well.
Yeah,
but, there we go. Anyway, should we move on to our proper chat now?
I think we should. We should have probably gone straight in from nice tats.
We should have done, yeah.
Because we're talking about titling and whether or not it's actually important to title a painting or not. Does it actually matter what it's called, or is it okay to just call an egg an egg? What are your thoughts on it, Tara? Because we haven't spoken about this previously, so I kind of don't really know what your thoughts are on it. I know what mine are, but that's it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because until a few years ago, I'd have thought it doesn't matter at all. I really didn't think it had any relevance what something was called. And then a couple of things happened. One was I saw an artist online talk about how really important it is and how people have bought her work because of the title. I'm sure it wasn't solely because of the title, but the title obviously meant something to them. And so it was that little extra push that got them to get their wallet out. Yeah. And then when I started doing the NFTs, not when I started, but after I've been doing it a little while, someone bought one of my NFTs, and she bought it because of the title. Because the title... it was something like Heartbroken, and I think she was heartbroken at the time, and so she bought it because she liked the title or because it meant something to her. But I say, for me, if I was going to buy a painting, I wouldn't care what the title was. I mean, it might make me smile if it was something, do you know what I mean, a bit quirky or funny.
Yeah.
Like nice tats, say, for example. Yeah. But I wouldn't, it'd be the visual thing that drew me to it. What about you?
I find that if I'm in a gallery and I'm walking around and I see an amazing painting, and then I look at the little plaque on the side and wonder what it's called, and it says untitled, I feel cheated. I think, gosh, they're that creative. They can create a painting like that, but they can't even think of a title. It's like an unfinished painting. If a painting isn't titled, to me, it's not finished. That artist has not given. It's like having a baby and not giving it a name. To me, who would do that? You can't call a baby for the rest of its life. I feel so strongly about this, and I can't tell you how annoyed it makes me. And if I saw a painting I loved that was untitled, out of just pure curiosity, I would not buy it, because I think you cannot. I've just made that up. You can have that one for free. Out of absolute annoyance that artist could not be asked to give it a title, that would really annoy me. And I'll go, I'm not going to buy that.
But
you can't even be bothered to title it.
Here's a different way of thinking about that. Maybe that artist, it wasn't that they couldn't be bothered to think about it. Maybe they thought, I don't want to put the thoughts in the other person's head. They want you to draw your own conclusions.
Well, then they should have called it, What's Your Title?
No, they shouldn't.
They should.
Nothing wrong. If you like the picture, who cares what it's called?
We're going to have a full-on argument about this.
Do you care what a film on TV? I mean, the only reason I'd care what a film on TV was called, because I guess it might be like a book cover where it would intrigue you to watch the film. But that's because you can't see the film first.
But it gives you an idea of what it's about. I mean, who would watch a film that's called Untitled?
No, but that's because you can't see the film first. With a painting, it's there in front of you. You've seen it. So
you've seen it, but you kind of want to get into the artist's head a bit. Don't you think you want to get into the artist's head a bit, though? And that gives you a little... Go on.
It depends. Surely it depends. So, yes, if it's got this big concept and the artist is trying to tell you something through this big concept and it's not obvious, then maybe a title would help, because it says, this is what I'm trying to say through this painting. But if it's a bowl of fruit, yeah, it's blooming obvious it's a bowl of fruit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter, does it? You could call it a bowl of fruit and that's fine.
No, it's not. That's even worse.
Yes, it is.
That is even worse than untitled. I find that absolutely... What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, God, what's the word?
Bananas.
It's like, how stupid do you think I am? I know it's a bowl of fruit. If I see something that says...
So
if I see a painting of an egg...
Untitled.
Yeah. I'd rather untitled than that. It's like if I see a painting and it's called... I don't know, it's a painting of an egg, and it's called Still Life of an Egg. Well, yeah, I can see that. I'm not stupid. I just find it so annoying. I don't know why I feel so frustrated by this, but I feel like it's just that.
I know why.
Go on.
You feel frustrated because you love titling.
I do. It's like the most creative part of it for me. It's the title. It's not the most, but it's the thing that, I don't know. It's just that final thing. It's like a runner getting all the way to the finish line, and then 2 foot before the end, he veers off and decides to. Oh, that'll do. I'm virtually there. I'm virtually done.
No.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because, right? So do you think if you painted more abstractly, maybe you wouldn't need the title?
I still would absolutely want a title. Abstract. Even if it was a plain rectangle, like a Rothko, I'd still have to... There'd be something that would have made me make that painting, and something would it doesn't even have to be a title that's... I mean, I hate obvious titles. I absolutely don't like obvious titles. And like I said, I'd rather an untitled painting than one that's obvious. I mean, there was silly things like you say, I like making titles. I like thinking them up. And there was a marble painting I made once. And yeah, this is a good example actually. I could have called it Still Life of Marbles or A Collection of Marbles or something like that. But I called it Roller Disco. And I called it Roller Disco because they had that kind of feel that they were rolling, and they had an awful lot of play, the play of light that was shining through them was creating all of these different shards of light, which reminded me of a bit like you're in a disco and you've got the disco balls sort of, and it just seemed like, well, roller disco because they roll, and the disco because of the lights. It kind of made me think of that. Now, that to me is a much more interesting. If I was going to see that and it was someone else's painting in a gallery, and I'd look at the title and go, oh, that's a cool name, because it would be a bit, it wouldn't be too obvious. Do you know what I mean? But you'd also know why it was called what it was. And
yeah,
my raw egg, the raw egg, I painted like a cracked raw egg. And I could have gone Still Life of a Raw Egg, or a raw egg, or an egg, or whatever, or untitled. But I called it Your Place or Mine because it kind of like, it's a bit like, how do you like your eggs in the morning? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, are we going back to your place or are you going back to my place? It's just something different, and it makes people sort of think a little bit sometimes. For instance, Your Place or Mine, it might not be immediately obvious, and you go, oh yeah, I get it. It's sort of thought-provoking. Sometimes they can be really something that isn't immediately obvious why it's called that, and it gives the viewer that fun of thinking, oh, why have they called it that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I know why you're trying to build this extra layer of story in. But when you painted it, and when you were first you've set this still life up, what are you thinking? I'm going to do this because this is about someone who stayed overnight at someone's house. You weren't, were you?
Well, no, but it's what makes me. It's like when I did what else did I do? A man holding a glass of whiskey, and you could just see the hand against a really dark background, and I called it that one Comfortably Numb, and to me, as I was painting it, I was thinking, I had all these sorts of these real stories in my head, thinking, this man is obviously at a bar, and there's another one called After Dark. I think it was called After Dark. I think I did a similar one, Medicinal Purposes. So there's all these different things. But this particular one, as I was doing it, I remember thinking of this guy at a bar after dark. But I was thinking, right, who's he meeting? Is it sinister? Or is he meeting someone he shouldn't be? And all these sort of things going in my head. Or maybe he's just behind a bar feeling really pissed off and this is making him feel better. And in the end I called it Comfortably Numb, because throughout the painting I had this narrative going on in my head, and the whole story had unfolded in my head of this man and what he was doing at this bar. Now, I can't write a story about the painting, but I can come to the conclusion that in the end he was comfortably numb. And I found that as fun as making the painting itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I wonder, is it for you then, or is it for the viewer? I think
it's for both. I think it's for both.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's just a case that some people, it matters to them and some it doesn't. Like for me, like when we went around this gallery having a look at the paintings on Friday.
Yeah.
I didn't take notice of any titles.
No.
I just looked at the work and thought, do I like it? Do I not like it?
I feel that most people listening to this podcast will agree with you above me. I do.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think there'll be a mix. I think there'll probably be a 50-50 split.
Do you?
I now would. I sometimes get ideas for titles now, but it's more because I feel that they need a title. It needs something now to go on my website. Do you know what I mean? And because it can mean something for someone else.
It doesn't always have to have a meaning. I mean, I'm not going deep here. Sometimes, things do have meaning. I mean, there was one, I'm actually going to go on my website quickly because there was one I did. I can't remember what it was. It was the man holding the match. Now, there was a meaning behind that painting, but I didn't actually divulge that meaning within the title. I just ended up calling it Light Fingered because it's only his fingers that showed in the painting. But the meaning behind that one was very different than the actual title. You don't have to make something deep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Because, I've titled things almost for fun. So, like, I have some of my older works, the doodly faces.
Yeah.
The doodly type ones. I have one of those called "Excuse Me, There's a Dog on My Head."
So I love that. See, I think that's funny.
And then I have another one that's called Ship, SHIP, ship-faced.
I remember that one. Yeah,
and that's there to amuse me. Really, it's to amuse me. And if someone else sees it, it might amuse them. But it's not. It doesn't matter that much.
I prefer the funny ones than the ones, or the thought-provoking ones, than I do the deep ones with, like, say, Heartbroken or something like that. I prefer something that makes me laugh. I mean, I remember once I painted and it was just an apple, and the only reason I wanted to paint the apple is because I just really had a thing about drawing the skin of fruit for a while. And I remember I did one which was an apple, one was a pear, and I can't remember the other one because it was so long ago. But anyway, the apple was just literally an apple sitting on its own, and I called it Not a Banana because it was my way of saying, well, obviously it's an apple. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to call it Still Life in an Apple. I called it Not a Banana, and for me that was something that I found amusing because it was my way of taking the mickey really and saying, well, obviously it's an apple.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So thinking outside of the box, I think, is definitely a fun thing to do.
I definitely think that having an interesting title, even though they don't matter much to me, can help market your work because you kind of got. I was going to say you've kind of got nothing to lose, but you have got something to lose. Because if you give it a title, the only trouble is if it makes it mean something to someone that they don't like. Do you know what I mean? So in most senses, it's really good because it's like, oh, that adds an extra layer of interest to the piece. So that might help market it. But say you had this picture and it really looked serene and beautiful and calm.
Yeah.
But then you put a title that almost meant like After the Murder. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean that, but that's two extremes, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But someone's like, oh, I really like that, but After the Murder? No, I don't want it now.
I think
because it might then think, oh.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea not to make it too specific and make it a bit more work for most people, rather than, like you say, if you don't want it to sound sinister, because somebody like me will go along or not me, but you want it to be a title that's clever enough that it can mean maybe more than one thing. That's probably a good way of doing it if you can. So rather than After the Murder, then here's a little thing for you, because you're so clever like this. If you'd had drawn a tranquil, peaceful painting, and it was about After the Murder, how would you change that title to be more suit more people then? But mean sort of a similar thing in your mind. It means what it means, but to someone else it might not. They could make it something else.
Well, it could say New Beginnings because the person that's murdered the person really hated them, so now they can get on with their life because they've gone.
Or it could be The Morning After. Or...
Yeah, it could be.
See, that's the sort of thing. But in the artist's mind, they're thinking of this body buried under the undergrowth,
Yeah.
but they're not calling it that. They know what it means, but they're giving it a title that perhaps nobody else would feel weird about. But again, it's a title.
Yeah, but I say I would always give something a title purely for the selling reason, I guess, rather than it means anything to me. And but one thing I did wonder is I wonder if it ever sways judges' opinions on pieces of work when you enter a competition.
I don't know. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, or do they get to see the titles or not?
I wonder if it does, and I'll tell you why. I think...
As in, you're saying it doesn't, or it does?
No, I think it probably could sway a judge. And I think the reason I think that is because if they could meet the artists and not see the paintings and only go by the person...
Yeah.
They would probably pick the person who had the personality or made them laugh or whatever, or made them think about things, or the most interesting person or whatever, right? So if you look at the paintings those people painted and look at those paintings as people, you've only got, well, obviously you've got the work, but if you had 4 pieces of work of equal talent, equally skilled, and they liked equally, but one had a quirky title that made them laugh or was thought-provoking and made them think, oh God, that title is really, wow, they're going to go for that painting, aren't they? They're not going to go for the 3 paintings that were untitled or landscape of blah, blah, blah. They're going to go for the one that had the title and made them think or made them laugh.
Yeah, it probably would, yeah.
So yes, I do. Whether or not they know it or not, I think it does make a difference.
And someone who's probably judging an art competition is probably a little bit more artsy-fartsy in general. So they would be more interested in titles.
I find, do you know, and the other thing is, I mean, I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong here at all.
Well, there isn't a right and wrong.
No, there isn't. Of course there's not. But I think the other reason why I enjoy titling a painting so much is because I actually love writing. And I think if I could turn the clock back and have been anything in my life, I'd love to have been a writer. And maybe that's partly...
You can still be a writer.
No one's going to buy
of course
something
you can.
I write.
Well, it depends what you mean. Writing novels or...
Anything. I just love writing. I mean, if somebody could say to me, can you taste this piece of food and write an article on it? Oh my gosh, that would be
You could easily do that.
Oh,
now.
no. What, and get paid for it? No.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, anyone listening who wants to pay me to do some writing, oh my gosh, that's my dream job. I'd love to do that.
If I've been paid to write, you can get paid to write.
Well, I just, you know what? I just love thinking about.
You have been paid to write. I've just realised.
When?
We've written for Leisure Painter.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about. Yeah, I know that, but I mean paid to write, as in regularly paid.
If you wanted to do it, you could do it.
Writing an article for a magazine every week. Oh my gosh, I'd love that.
But
I just love words. I love words, and I think that's maybe why a title of a painting means so much to me. It's like, well, hang on a minute. This is the bit where you have words. You know. And then don't get me wrong. If you went on my art page, you wouldn't go, "Oh my God, that's an amazing painting." "Oh my God, that's an amazing a painting." I mean, title. That's an amazing title. It's not. But it is a title, and it is. I mean, my Coke can. Okay, I've done a crushed Coke can. That's probably one of my favourite paintings I've done. And it's called Crushed because basically it is crushed. But there was more meaning to that painting. There was a lot of meaning behind that painting. It's not just the word. So sometimes you can title something one word and it might just look like it means crushed. The painting is crushed. But actually there's a lot more meaning behind what was happening at that point than what was that you see as the viewer. And that's what I like about it. I like titling things when you wonder if the viewer is going to think enough about it and deeply enough about it. They might think, I wonder if that actually means. I made a painting during lockdown, during lockdown, and I think that's when I did my first wine bottle paintings, actually, because one of them was called Making Light of It. And because at the time I was making light of lockdown, it was giving me a lot more time to paint, and the painting was all the wine bottles covered in fairy lights. So initially you might think that title just means, making light of it. Okay, you're making lights out of a wine bottle by putting fairy lights around it. But the actual meaning of it is I was making light of lockdown when COVID was at its worst, and, seeing a way of making things, the best of
Positive.
Making something positive out of an awful situation. So, do you know what I mean? I suppose that's what I like about. I did one risky business that was the cigar and the poker game and the rum. And I guess, it's a risky business if you drink too much and you gamble. It's a risky business. But do you know what? That painting sold within about 2 minutes of me putting it on the website. I never saw that again.
But I wonder if that was the title or if that was just someone loved the painting.
I think that was someone just loved the painting, I guess. Because it was...
Not someone you knew? No.
No. That was... I put it on Instagram and I got a message on Instagram. I'd only had it up 2 minutes and said, I really want that painting. How much? I was like, it's blah, blah, blah. You'll find it here. And it was gone. It was bought. And I was like, my God, that's the fastest I've ever sold a painting. And it was basically, it was, you can see it on my website. If anyone wants to see it, if you go on my website and you go on the paintings... the sold section,
SandraBusbyArt.com, isn't it?
Yeah, and you'll see some of the titles I've used, and it's the one of the rum, the glass of rum, the cards, and the cigar.
Cards.
The cigar. I could have just called that. I could have called that so many different things, I think, but there's generally a reason behind my titles, and I think that's why I love doing it so much, because it's not just about what the viewer sees, it's what they see and what it actually is. Do you think as well it's nice when you get something that makes you think about things? So paintings themselves is great.
When I see somebody else's work, you mean?
Well, and also when you're painting it yourself. So sometimes you paint something and you must be thinking of a specific thing at the time, or there's a reason why you've done it this way, or maybe it's to do with how you're feeling at the time, or maybe, or are you not that deep?
Quite often I'm not that deep, but sometimes as I'm painting, titles do come to me, but I am generally not that deep. Sometimes because for me, quite often, like I said before, it is like meeting that new person. It is like you're painting this thing. There's like, it's really exciting when this new person appears on the page. But it's not deep in general, and I don't want it to be deep in general because it's about losing yourself.
Yeah, it is about losing yourself.
Yeah. So I don't want to be losing myself thinking something really heavy and deep in general, but I will say for example, I've got one that I painted on a canvas board. Do you know, I've had this I reckon I've had that canvas board about 35 years.
Really?
Yeah, right. And it all sealed up, still in its cellophane, and I opened it and I thought, what can I do on there? And as I was doing it, I was like thinking chaotic mind. And that is what I'm going to call that piece.
Yeah.
But it was almost like, because I think that is what my mind is like sometimes, completely chaotic.
Yeah.
Because I've got ideas fizzing around. But it's probably no deeper than that. And I don't want it to be too deep.
I remember when you did a series, your first series in your new style the first series you did where everyone's eye had one eye bigger than the other that was coming off their side of their face. It was kind of like almost like your signature thing to do, and you did a first series. Do you remember?
One where they had the previous collection where they had characters around them.
Yeah, like their
You mean
eyes.
the old style?
Yeah, so they had
The old style.
Yeah, so they had a big eye, and then you'd always have the eye would be some sort of character as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, God, I know if I had a collection, if I did that and that was my collection,
Yeah.
I'd have had that collection and I'd have called it something, and I would have called it eye candy, because my initial reaction would be like to the eye and what's going on around the eye and the characters, and so I'd have called that collection eye candy. And
Well,
I
you
loved
named
it.
that collection.
Did I? What would I? Did
Yeah,
I?
but it wasn't eye candy. Yeah, because I said, "What can I call these?"
Yeah.
and as a collection, and
Yeah,
you named it Behind Your Eyes or something like that. I can't remember. It's something. So maybe we should go up, because you love coming up with title ideas, and I've got a few ideas for this as well. Maybe we should go into how to come up with title ideas.
Yes. You'd be better at that than me, because I come up with the title ideas generally because of the narrative that has brought me to it while I've been painting. So I'll have maybe a few weeks over a painting, and somehow I end up doing a narrative inside my head of to what's going on, or what's going on around me at the time. But you do it a much more direct way. You'll do it like a mind map and stuff like that. So I'd love to know how you...
No, not necessarily. But I was just thinking, when you said that, actually, this does make complete sense. Is one of the reasons you probably find titling much easier than me is because you spend so long on a piece.
Maybe.
So you're probably more absorbed in that piece, because I can paint a piece, in hours, whereas yours is like days. So I'm only in that piece for that time, whereas you're sitting there as you're painting, you're thinking about, and yours is probably more meditative, whereas mine is more throw up on the canvas. Do you know what I mean?
Now, Tara, if you did that, you'd probably make a fortune in a modern gallery.
But you know what I mean? Mine is like, get it out there. It's like, I like the energy of speed. Yeah, I love the energy of speed. And it's like it is like just literally pour everything into it. Whereas you're more meditative, thoughtful. So while you're doing this meditative stuff, all these different ideas will be popping in your head.
Yeah.
And you've got more time for those ideas to pop in your head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I do get titles appear in my head as I go along, but not always. Like, I've got... So Chaotic Mind, that idea appeared in my head. It's not that original, but it was what came into my head. But I've got a few other pieces sitting here, and they haven't got titles yet. They'll have to if I decide to put them on my website.
Oh, send a couple to me. I'll give you some ideas.
Okay. But I'll tell you, so one thing you could do, and this is kind of what you were saying, I don't do this so much anymore, but I used to, is you can go to a site like Rhyme Zone, which is a bit of a brainstorming one. But Rhyme Zone there, you can put in a word or whatever, and it'll give you rhymes, or it'll give you metaphors or phrases based on that. So that's one idea to do it. Should I give you another one? Or do you want to?
No, you carry on. You're better at this bit than me.
Okay, so you can think about different words that are related to things like the colour or the mood of the painting. So one thing I've been sort of doing is, like, say it's a yellow. Instead of it being yellow, maybe it could be lemon or golden, and that will give you ideas, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know that's kind of...
Yeah, so you're saying it's a bit like wordplay, isn't it? So think of different ways to describe something other than the obvious.
Yes. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be that far off, but sometimes, say, for example, I've got a painting of her face, and she's kind of, I guess she's smirking a little bit. And I've called it Lemon Heaven, which is a bit naff, but it's just that instead of being yellow, and she kind of looks a bit otherworldly. Right. Do you know what I mean? It's changing it that way. But one of the best ways now for me, you'll hate this. Guess what I'm going to say? How I title some paintings.
Please don't say AI.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
No, Tara, no.
Yes. So AI is like I'm sitting there chatting to someone, because it is like a chat bot. So I use ChatGPT sometimes.
Do you pay for this?
Sometimes, no, free.
Because there is a paid version, and I did research because we did a an episode on AI, didn't we? And I think it was Chat GPT or something to do research and try different things to see what they would come up with. And then it said you've run out of goes, basically. A bit like you've used up your...
No, I'm still using it.
Oh. Yeah.
But there's a plus version. You can pay for it. It's just a quicker...
Oh, I wouldn't want to pay... Oh, God, no.
It's got a quicker... Well, I would if... Yeah. Basically what I do is so imagine I was sitting with you, say, and I was trying to come up with ideas. I use it kind of like a brainstorming tool. And I'll say to it, I got this painting. It's an abstract face. It's using a lot of red. And I think it kind of portrays this. I might say she looks sad or it's kind of chaos. And I'll go, can you help me come up with some names? And then it will start coming up with something and go, I'm rubbish. But a few I think, oh, I quite like that. And then I might say, can you come up with some more names revolving around this idea? And then I might put bits together, or I might use part of theirs and I'll add something to it.
Yeah. If you're not somebody who enjoys titling paintings and you find it hard to come up with ideas, I think that's when I think that's a very handy tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is there another way that you would use then other than those two?
Well, no, but I was just going to say about AI. I mean, I think about AI, so you'd be quite prepared to go to a website that had a thesaurus on it, wouldn't you?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Something that gave you other keywords. So I would just say think of AI almost like that. It's a tool that you're using to give you ideas. So it doesn't have to be this big sinister thing.
No.
I know now they're saying it's going to take over the world. But at the moment, it's not.
I see now the thing is, for instance, if I was getting a newsletter every week from someone arty, I sign up for a few, and those people are writing me a newsletter or writing a newsletter and sending it out, and they've written it, I'm happy. I want to read that. If I thought for 1 minute that person had gone to AI and write a newsletter talking about I've done this painting and and then they've sent me what AI has come up with, I would instantly sign off from that. I wouldn't want to know, because it's not come from the artist, it's not come from them. It's just they've not used, they haven't spoken to me in their own words at all. Very different than titling a painting. Obviously, getting ideas is one thing. What I don't like about AI is if you're getting something you think from someone and it's really not, they've just got a robot to do it for them. It means nothing then. Do you know what I mean? It's like getting a love letter from your husband who's gone onto AI and said, write my wife a love letter. It would mean diddly squat.
It depends what you're using it for. Yeah, it depends what you're using it for. And if you were using it for, I'll go on and say, I'll say, I've written this newsletter. Can you correct my grammar?
That's totally different. Totally different.
Yeah, or I might actually say, I've got to write about this. What could I talk about? And then it'll give me suggestions, and then I'll write about them. So
that's a very different way of using it, and that's the right way to use it. I think that's what makes AI. That's the good thing about AI. I don't like where it might be going and how much people will lean on that, and then you don't know whether you're actually talking to a person or not. That's what I don't like. But like I say, if you want to hear us talking about AI, go back and listen to, I don't know what episode it was now actually, but we did talk about that, didn't we? It was very interesting.
We'll shut up about AI now.
But we will, because we've already spoken about that. But have you got any other thoughts on titles, or you think we're done?
Yes, one more. And that is obviously because if we tend to be solitary creatures I think in the most part, don't we? Artists.
Yeah.
Especially when we're working. And you don't necessarily have people around you that you can bounce that many ideas about. So I think social media is another really interesting way to come up with title ideas. And I've done this before. And also what it does is it gets people talking and talking to you and talking about your work. It kind of involves your audience. So I think another great way is saying, I need a title for this piece. Has anybody got any good suggestions?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I know you'd hate that.
I wouldn't want anyone
you like doing that bit.
I find it a very personal thing to my art, but I do get that, and I think that's great. It was a great way of art. It's a great way of, like you say, getting your audience involvement, and they feel involved in your work, and they might even buy it because they've titled it. You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, no, I've got no problem with that at all. like you say, you know, it's absolutely fine to get ideas from other people. It really is. I just think don't not title it at all if you can possibly help it, because that's so boring. It's like having a dog and calling it dog.
I think though, you only need, like, if you're just posting stuff up on social media and you've just done a piece, you don't really need it just, you know, for that necessarily. You only need it really when you're intending to sell it, don't you? Or when it's about to go on your website or whatever. So I don't necessarily think, especially if you're just painting, if you've just been out urban sketching, you don't need a title for your urban sketch.
Oh no, that's totally different. Oh my gosh, no. God, I wouldn't title any of my sketches, not at all. That's different. If you've got a sketchbook, just no. I wouldn't do anything like that.
It's more paintings to sell, isn't it?
Yeah, paintings that you're going to sell. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about urban sketching.
Yeah.
No, not at all. No.
So have you got any more ideas on that?
No, I think I'm done. I'm done. And funny enough, you know, I said it's like getting a dog and calling it dog. It's just made me realise how much thought I put into even my dog's name.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, well, because we have a Labrador, as you know, Tara, and his name is Sherlock. Yeah. And, you know, I came up with Sherlock because I painted a painting of a bear at the time, which I had named Sherlock. And I won't go into why I'd called that painting Sherlock. But I used the money I sold the painting to buy the dog. So that was one part of it. But also because the dog, being a Labrador, loves investigating, loves sniffing about, basically a detective. So that's why I called him Sherlock. So yeah, anything like that, I put in so much thought, you know. Yeah.
We got ours after the TV.
Did you?
we used to watch this program, which I can't remember what it was called now. But it was about AI actually.
Was it?
To hear. It was sort of about detectives, but it was in a world where sort of they've got these systems now who could recognise people everywhere, and these behind the scenes organisations knew what everybody was doing and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And but one of the guys had this dog, and it wasn't a German Shepherd, but it looked similar to a German Shepherd, but the dog's name was Bear. And I remember saying to Kevin, I love that name.
Yeah, that's a cute name.
That's why our dog is called Bear.
Yeah, that is cute.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we go on to our question?
Yes.
We had last week. Our last question was, if you could invite one VIP guest to your own show, dead or alive, anyone at all, who would it be and why?
So I've got Carrie is artsy. David Bowie, the man was all-round talented. Singer, songwriter, actor and artist himself. I couldn't think of a better person to invite. All that, and I'm just a huge fan. Do you know, when I was younger, very, very much younger, I remember The Labyrinth. Do you remember the Labyrinth film coming out?
Yeah.
And he used to wear these tights. I was quite a big fan of him in his tights, I must admit.
Oh, God.
That's when I became a huge fan. Anyway, carry on. Your turn.
Yeah, okay. I've got Billy Schinnerer. Leonardo da Vinci has always fascinated me because he was so forward-thinking for his time and his interest was so vast. I imagine him to be interesting to converse with.
Yeah, I bet. P.W. Marcus, Leonardo da Vinci, again, of course. Can you think of anyone else who could combine a discussion of art and science and the changes to the world in a more considered way? I imagine he would be incredibly fascinating and excited by how much he imagined has come to pass and how those inventions and ideas have changed the world.
I've got Susanna Larson, Vincent Price, the ultimate classy guy. He knew everything about food, wine, art, film, theatre, and he was an absolute gentleman.
I've got Ryan Twittle. Mary Blair, her style was the basis of all that I loved as a child, and to this day her art has a way of transporting me back to my childhood.
I've got Hilary Milner, David Bowie, another David Bowie, just because he's David Bowie and he wears those lovely tights. She doesn't say that, she says, and he was able to reinvent himself over and over again.
Andy W. Art. I would love to have chatted with Korean artist Kim Jung-ji about his techniques, work and his humour. Such a mind-blowing talent and a true drawing master. Sadly, he died last year. gone far too soon. Do you know what I've realised, Tara?
What?
Which I'm shocked about, is nobody said Sandra and Tara.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
that's terrible.
What's going on? You'd think we'd be
I
way
don't know.
more interesting than David Bowie and Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah. We'll have to start wearing tights.
I've always fancied not wearing tights. I've always fancied having dinner with someone like Brian Cox, Stephen Fry.
Who?
Brian Cox. You know Brian Cox.
Yeah.
And,
I do.
and Stephen Fry. Someone like that. Oh, imagine how fascinating that would be. I'd really love that.
Yeah, they would be good.
Neither of them are artists, but I just think they're amazing.
They would be interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
I've got a new question. I haven't got it, so I don't know what it is.
Oh, have you not got it? Okay. Oh,
well, not on this bit of paper.
Oh, okay, so... Right, this question, you've got a while to answer this one. We'll explain why in a minute. The question is, you have created a piece of art featuring a person peering into a mirror with a very confused look on their face. What do you title it and why? So you've created a piece of art featuring a person peering into a mirror with a confused look on their face. What do you title it and why?
And if you can't think of anything, always use AI.
No, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a rule here. No AI allowed.
No.
It's got to be your own title.
There's no prize involved, so why do they care?
Well, I think the prize is just thinking I did that all by myself. But we're having a break, aren't we, Tara? Because Tara, she's going away to... Where are you going, Tara?
We're going away to the East Coast.
So, and we were actually going to... We had decided we were going to try and record 2 or 3 podcasts really close together to try and fit them all in. And then we thought, you know what? Let's not do that because it's too rushed. You won't have time to answer any of the questions because we won't be able to put them up. So we thought, you know what? Let's have a break. And we're going to be back on the 24th of July. So that will be when our next... podcast airs, and that gives you plenty of time to come up with an amazing title.
Yeah, and can I just say, if anyone's planning to burgle my house, I'll actually be back before this thingy airs, this podcast airs.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think anyone's going to burgle you, unless they want to steal all your paintings, maybe.
Yeah, they might do. Anyway, if you want to answer that question, you can let us know in the Facebook group, which if you haven't done, I strongly suggest you join. We'll also put the question up on the Facebook page and on Instagram, which is Kicking the Creatives.
And we hope that gave you the kick in the creatives you needed. Don't forget to pop over to our website at kickinthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming creative challenges. And of course, there you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we would be so grateful if you would leave us a little review on iTunes or even just a star rating if you don't have much time. Also, just a quick one here. If you have a specific topic you would like us to touch on or you'd like us to talk about, feel free to give us an email because we love hearing ideas about, you know, what people want, the kind of subjects they want to hear about. So yeah, you can always email us and let us know. If you want to find either myself or Tara online, I'm on Instagram as sandra.busby, and I'm on my website at sandrabusbyart.com. Tara, what about you?
Yeah. If you want to find me, you can go to TaraRoskellArt.com. That's my website. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and YouTube and everywhere else as Tara Roskell Art. And also, don't forget to check out and subscribe to our Kicking the Creatives newsletter to keep up with the challenges. You do that by going over to our website and there's a little box on the side and a pop-up. And also, we've released a course which is all about how to create characters and cartoons. You can find the link to the course on the website, or you can go to kickinthecreatives.com/cartoon course where you can find out a bit more.
And if you would like to help support us here at Kicking the Creatives, you can now do so by buying us our coffee. Of course, it doesn't really go on coffee. It goes on it just helps towards the cost of running this whole Kicking the Creatives. And you can find the link to that on our website. And if you can't help us in that way, there are other things you can do that help. You can share our episodes with other creatives or write us a nice review. It all helps. So we really appreciate any support you can give. But that's it. And we will be back on the 24th of July.
Yep, see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes.